Poducer.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to Poducer, the podcast for producers. Today we are joined by Nimda.
We got it right this time.
Yeah, we had to read it. Welcome to the pod. What do you do?
What do? I sit. I don't touch grass. I sit indoors and I make really horrible sounds.
Yeah, just sitting there doing a bunch of sound design.
Basically.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
That's about it. You DJ.
Yep. When I get booked,
Yeah.
I show up and make fun of the crowd and then leave. That's about it.
Do you make fun of the crowd?
Sometimes.
Do you fuck with them?
Whenever there's like the odd occasion where there's like people who are not enjoying it, I make it very obvious.
By not enjoying it, is it like you come on, it's not the style of music that they're liking, and then...
So let's say, like, for example, I played a show a couple of weeks ago and it was like a rhythm lineup. So like I was the only heavy producer, I guess. And there's a part of my set where I make everyone crouch at the moment. And then when it like kicks in, they will jump. And everyone in the room crouched down apart from like 5 people in the corner. And I was like, shout at these guys, they fucking hate me. And they were like just glaring at me. So like for the rest of the set, I was just like, yeah, this song goes out to them. I'm like,
to those guys that didn't crouch.
I always say like, yeah, if everyone crouch down, if you don't crouch down, if you stay standing up, you're gonna look like a fucking idiot because everyone else is gonna be crouched down, and then they feel like an idiot.
Do it, yeah. This is actually already an interesting. I already have an interesting question, which is like, you know, you said that you were on a rhythm lineup.
Yeah. And
you're a tearout. You would consider your genre tearout.
Yeah.
Right?
I hate that word, but yeah, that's ultimately what people know it as.
So when you say though that you're the only heavy artist, when I think of rhythm, I think of that's pretty heavy.
I mean, yeah, it is, but like Tearout is just blown out. Like the whole set, you will just be like white noise to people who don't like it.
It's noisy, it's aggressive.
Yeah.
But okay, if we could split hairs here, where does it differ from rhythm? Because to the untrained ear, you might just be like, oh, this is rhythm, or like, oh, this is tearout, whichever term you know.
Rhythm is a lot more. I'm probably gonna get like made fun of for talking about rhythm because I don't know shit about it.
I'm gonna get flamed.
It's a lot more like flow based. There's a lot less like mental sporadic flows, and it's a lot more down to me anyway. It's more down to like just making a kind of grimy sound and building a song around that. And it doesn't have to be like insanely loud and insanely fucking full and blown up. Whereas the stuff I make and other people who make the stuff I make, it's more about kind of similar, making a cool sound, but then just making it as in your face as possible. And like to me anyway, when I'm producing, it's about like how much shock factor can I get out of every 4 bars. Like it's more shock factor, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like rhythm, from what I also hear, it has like for lack of a better word, like a rhythm to it that is specific to the genre. It's like
yeah,
it's kind of in and out. I also just wanted to see, because you posted this on Twitter, and I'm sorry, I'm just pulling from your Twitter stuff. You said, oh yeah, can everyone just get on with it and have an unlicensed bare knuckle fight over whether it's called rhythm or trench?
That shit was so embarrassing. It was when like Infect tweeted that he wanted to rename it to Trench, and I think it's still kind of stuck, to be honest. Like still a lot of people still call it, but there was like half the scene hated it, half the scene loved it, and there was like arguments every day, and I just kind of found it like embarrassing. But
trench has a different effect like that.
I think it suits it more with like the whole kind of grimy sound it has, but I think renaming a genre is a bit is a bit of an ask.
Yeah, it's ambitious.
Yeah. No hate to Infect. I love Christian.
Unless he had like, you know, enough of his own unique style, sound, whatever, that he was calling his own stuff trench, and then maybe it's like, okay, then there can be a little bit of a delineation between the two. But yeah, I don't know. I've never heard trench, and I'm also curious, like, you know, you're from the UK. How big is, you know, like rhythm, trench, if we're gonna call it that, Tearout? Like, what's the market like for that?
I'll definitely say that in the UK, it's a lot more. Right now, rhythm is definitely bigger than the stuff I make by like 100 times. Before COVID, it was pretty good. Like we had, before COVID, this is like, to me, this was like the peak of like crazy shows in the UK. We had like this massive show at Printworks. I don't know if you know that.
Dude, I'm sad because it no longer exists.
I went to so many shows there. It was my favorite.
So jealous.
My favorite venue.
That hallway, that iconic, just like, why did they close it? Was it just that it's like, oh, we had a good time and now we got to move?
They wanted to turn it into like offices or something. I don't actually know, but that's what I heard. They actually relocated, so they're now a venue called Drum Sheds, I'm pretty sure, which is it's just as sick. It's not like a long hallway, but it's like a massive like open room with like really high ceiling, or like really low. I don't actually remember what it looks like, but I remember it being like a really kind of warehousey. I remember it being really wide and long, and I remember watching like a video of Simula playing there, if you know him, in the drum and bass scene. But yeah, they relocated. But yeah, before COVID, we had a show in Printworks, and it was like Flux Pavilion, Netski, like, and then like Marauder. It was like the weirdest like lineup of different ends of EDM, but like and it like sold out, and it was just like chaos for the whole show. And now that would not happen. Like, there's no promoters in the UK other than Sin London, who I shout at them and everything because they're literally like the last hope for the UK. Right now, I'd definitely say like rhythm and stuff is bigger in the UK than any other dubstep genre, or like
even like
kind of deep dub 140 shit.
Really,
is pretty. That's always going to be kind of,
because that's kind of like the
Hamdi and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that comes from like kind of the original type of dubstep. So interesting.
We had in I think it was November or October, we had like a pop-up show in a record shop, which was sick, and it was Leatrix and Koki.
Dude,
and that was
Leatrix
like
and Koki. Yeah, that's an interesting combo.
Yeah, that was wild. It was like free entry, like first come first serve, and it was like a 40 cap venue. Literally, the venue was about the same size as this room. Like decks were just in the corner,
and this room is like one car garage vibes. Like
it was mad, and then because it was so packed, there was just like a queue of people outside for the whole show that didn't even get in. But
damn, that's exclusive right there. That sounds sick.
Yeah, but that's a 40 cap venue. And we had Koki, who's like, I guess that sound is still pretty popular. But you could never put on like you can never book like, I don't know, like Excision in the UK probably wouldn't do that well. Yeah, because it's like that whole, I don't know, there's just no promoters that are willing to take that risk anymore, and also it probably just wouldn't sell that well because it hasn't been a show like that in like 5 years. But
I mean, I have like an intro question that I want to get to, but since we're already on the Tearout stuff, like I think about when I heard of Tearout first, I think of like Rusko, like, oh, I'm doing a Tearout set.
Well, it used to be like, this is why I hate the word Tearout, because it used to mean something completely different. And then I don't know who called like the sound that I make, and like people who make the stuff I make, I don't know who called it Tearout. I don't know where that came from. But it kind of just stuck.
But it's from what Rusko was making, it's very different because his was, you know, it had a lot of energy, but it's not the same level that we're at now.
Yeah.
Yo, are you gonna re-genre it right now? Like,
yeah, man. I don't know what I'd call it. Whatever I call it will probably be even more cringe. But no, Rusko and like anyone who made a song that had like that wasn't just sub and drums was considered like Tearout,
because it had like that mid bass layer that, or like higher layer that's like a little screechier, a little crunchier, you know.
I guess what we call it now is basically that, but like with 900 layers of processing on it instead of just like making a basic sound and calling it a day.
Well, because the tools have gotten like so sophisticated too. The synths are like more powerful.
It's also so saturated now that it's like who can make the most blown out heavy shit.
Yeah.
Which is what I love doing.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Well, we'll get back to this genre talk and whatnot. But I mean, I feel like, you know, I can't not ask my startup question, which is, you know, what was your first concert that you went to as like a patron?
In any genre?
Yeah.
So I was like 7 years old.
Really?
My parents took me to a Motorhead concert.
Sick.
I don't even remember it, but it was...
They go hard.
Yeah. And then after that, it was nothing. Oh, I saw Bon Jovi.
Nice.
Around the same time. After that, it was nothing for years. And then when I was 12, I went to like a local festival where I live. And it was like small festival. I think the headliner was like Rihanna or something.
Oh, that means Rihanna.
Pretty crazy, yeah. It was like crazy for a small festival.
Damn.
But in the corner of the festival, they had a tent called like the Rave Tent.
Oh.
And I wandered off from my parents, went into there with my friend, and it was like Andy C playing with I think P Money was emceeing, and I was like, whoa! Like everyone was probably insanely high.
And you're 12, and you're 12. Just like, yo.
People were just going insane. It was packed out. And yeah, that was kind of my intro to it all.
Wow, so that's pretty young.
Yeah.
Did you know who Andy C was at the time?
No, I didn't know who anyone was other than like Skrillex.
Yeah.
And Nero.
yeah, hell yeah, dude. Fucking love Nero.
Yeah.
And Skrill, but word. So okay, then maybe we go also to like the later stages of like when you actually were autonomous as like, you know, a little bit older, that you could choose where you're going and whatnot. What was the next concert after that? And this is all in the UK.
Yeah. I went to a lot of I grew up on metal, so I went to a lot of like just bands I liked. And then I didn't go to like a dubstep show or anything until my first show, which was when I was 17, which was 2017.
Like you played the show?
Yeah. That was like Pandorum. It was like a load of like old Dubstep artists.
Is Dubstep a label?
No, Dubstep's like I guess you'd consider it another subgenre. I think it's kind of a forgotten thing now.
I don't even know what it is.
Everyone just calls it Tearout now.
Oh,
but
so
like,
Dubstep.
It was like kind of like Tearout, but more like yeah, it was a lot more like, I'm gonna get slated for saying this because I don't really. It was such a like, it wasn't talked about that much, so I don't really know what people consider it as. But to me, it was like way more orchestral and just dark sounding. Like it wasn't about like being insanely energetic. And
was it
way more scary?
It was. Oh, okay. So it was like kind of like horror movie,
kind of, yeah,
like
yeah.
theme or so, that's what I'm picturing. But also Dubstep. Do you know if that's because it's like gonna make you deaf because it's loud, or like
no, it was like deaf as in with a th.
I
mean Pandorum, who played
death. Sorry, the accent, guys.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
I'm from a shithole.
I wouldn't say that, but like, just I didn't pick it up. But yes, okay.
But Pandorum, who headlined that show, he put me on that lineup. He's still going today. He's still making the same sound. And it still goes off. So I just guess, I guess like now that the whole Tearout thing has become a bit more mainstream, that people just call whatever's heavy Tearout. So I guess you'd call it that now. But
well, it's interesting. I think a lot of people who get into dubstep, a lot of times I hear that their background is metal. And if you look at metal, the tree of metal and genres, there's so many different genres.
Oh, yeah, it's just...
It's insane. And people get real like, no, dude, that's not fucking doom metal. That's like whatever, new metal or whatever. It gets complicated. And I think dubstep also kind of has a similar thing where there's a lot of different genres in it. But if you say dubstep in the US, a lot of people have like a preconceived notion, which they think of like Skrillex, like 2000, I don't know, 12 era ish, I'm thinking. But that's for the people that don't necessarily know, that are in the scene. Now people that are in the scene know different genres of it, but
yeah, dude, the genre war stuff is hilarious.
it's hilarious.
Like,
Yeah,
when you see someone comment like on a song and they're like, "This is my favorite rhythm song ever," and they're like, "Are you stupid? This is a rhythm!" Like,
this is trench, dude.
or like, "This is a rhythm. This is fucking." The worst one I see actually is when it's like you hear a dubstep song and the intro has like a breakbeat or something, like any part that's like slightly upbeat, and everyone's like, "Yo, this is drum and bass."
Right, but I mean, like
it's not. Wrong BPM, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know. The genre stuff is stupid, but I like to play into it sometimes because it's just fun to see what other people consider what genre, you know? But I do think it kind of doesn't matter at the same time.
I think genres are just there to help you find music, like not to argue about.
Yeah, that's a moment right there. That's a clip. Yo, what's up, guys? Before we get into today's show, I want to take a quick moment to talk about our sponsor, QUAKE. As music producers and concert enthusiasts, we know how important it is to protect our ears. That's where QUAKE's Dub Muffs V2 come in. They aren't just any earplugs, they're a game changer. What sets Dub Muffs V2 apart, first off, their quality. They're better than any plugs I've ever used. I use them all the time. I have custom in-ear plugs. These are my main ones that I bring to shows. You get premium sound clarity, preserving those crisp highs and deep lows, all while safeguarding your ears from damaging volumes. And the best part, they don't break the bank. Quality and affordability, son. Let's talk customization. QUAKE knows one size doesn't fit all. That's why they offer two sizes. Whether you're at an intimate gig or a massive festival, Dub Muffs V2 fit comfortably in your ears, making sure you're protected no matter how long the show lasts. Let's face it, we've all left concerts with ringing in our ears. It's not good, but it ends up happening. But it doesn't have to be that way. Protect your ears while enjoying the pure sound of music with QUAKE's Dub Muffs V2. As a special thank you to our listeners, QUAKE is offering an exclusive discount. Just use the code POD15 at checkout to save on your first purchase. As a motto of our show, make sure you protect your ears. Now let's get back to the show. Okay, cool. So let's do a little like origin story when it comes to like music production and kind of how you got into it and where you started. What do you produce on? Stuff like that.
yeah. So I started around the same time I went to that festival when I was like 11 or 12.
Oh, really? Wow, that's young.
Yeah, so I just started secondary school. I don't know what you call that here.
Is that like after like how?
I was like 11 years old, so I don't know what that's like. I don't
It's
know
like
what grade that would be.
middle school or something.
Yeah, I guess. And there in music class, they showed us how to use GarageBand, the like free DAW that comes with Macs.
Apple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like just teaching us how to write music. Like they were like, write a rock song with MIDI guitars or use the piano MIDI to write some piano. And then being like 10, 11 years old, I was like, I didn't realize that music was created like that. I thought everything was recorded. And I was like, whoa, I can just like make music by like putting in the notes. And around the same, probably in the same month is when I went to that festival and I discovered like, saw Andy C playing live. And it was like around the time when Skrillex blew up. So Andy C, despite being a drum and bass DJ, he was dropping like Make It Bundem by Skrillex and shit like that. And I was like, this is fucking insane. Like, and then someone played me Nero Crush on You as well while I was at school. And I was like, right, that's it. I'm literally gonna dedicate my entire life to like learning to do this. And I went home, begged my parents for a MacBook because I thought that was the only thing you could use with GarageBand. I didn't know about like any other DAW. I thought that was the only software. So my parents got me a MacBook for Christmas, like a second-hand one, just so I could use GarageBand. And I pretty much just was like abusing GarageBand, trying to learn to make dubstep on it. It's just like really hard to make on GarageBand because it's like a very basic DAW.
Yeah, I think a lot of people started with GarageBand. I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
But no one, I'm not like, and no one's like, dude, I still use GarageBand.
Yeah.
Like,
I actually, fun fact, I found out that Joji makes all his songs on GarageBand.
oh my God, that's part of the meme. Almost. Like, I feel like, yeah, interesting. Okay.
But yeah, from that, I would go home every day, not do homework, and just produce dog shit music. And then from like just watching tutorials and researching, I figured out like there was other softwares I could use, and I found FL Studio. And then I think when I was around 2013, it took me like 2 years. Around 2013, I was like, oh, I kind of want to get FL Studio now because I've watched so many tutorials on it. And then that at the time was only available on Windows. So I kind of shot myself in the foot and I was like, no, I need to get a Windows computer. So I saved up like my pocket money and like,
did you have a job?
No. I'll do like chores around the house.
Yeah, you're like, okay, I'll do whatever you guys want.
Do chores for people on my street and shit to like save up money to buy a PC. And I think I actually managed to save up like 1,000 in like a year and a half or some shit. And then I spent all of that on a PC. Got FL Studio on deal. And then, yeah, that from there onwards, like from then until now, it's like 2014, it's pretty much just been like trial and error. Like I've pretty much learned everything I know today from pure trial and error and like tutorials. I mean, back then there was like no tutorials. There was like really basic tutorials and like how to copy and paste.
Dude, I remember watching a tutorial of like Rusko making it the dubstep on, and he had this weird synthesizer that I've like never even seen now, and I was like, dude, I need that synthesizer.
Yeah. You'd want whatever you saw in the video.
Yeah.
Because you thought, because it was like, there's such a lack of knowledge online back then. You thought that whatever you saw in so-and-so big producer's tutorial was like the only thing.
Well, so it also still happens like that in the sense, like when you're young, you think that you need certain tools because that's going to like get you to the place where your music's sounding good. And then like I feel like everyone always realizes that you just need to like do it more to actually do it. And you can, and then everyone's just like, yeah, I just use stock shit now. And I'm just like, yeah, that's just like kind of what happens.
I actually like, I think around last year I literally like uninstalled like almost everything I use because I was like, I don't ever use it.
Yeah, no, I get, like I've sunk money into shit that I like never use, you know what I mean? I feel like that's just how these plugin companies get you. It's like, oh dude, it's this new hot plugin, you gotta buy it. Like dude, you can get, there's so many free plugins, and I'm always saying this on the pod that like you don't need that shit. But
also the stuff that's really good you can pay like a subscription for, or like rent to own and stuff. So
yeah. That's what I do with Serum.
Yeah, I did that for I put my time in and paid it off after, I think, how long does it take? Like 2 years or something?
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad deal to own it like that. Yeah. But what, so I guess, because we're talking about, you know, you mentioned sound design. That was one of the first things you mentioned. What do you normally use for a synthesizer? And like, what did you start with too?
There's no real answer to this because I kind of use everything. Like when I start every song I make by trying to make like basses and just an interesting pattern out of basses. But I don't ever stick to one method. I'll like try the most random shit possible. Like I'll just rip my own song. Take
like previous songs.
Yeah, I'll like rip apart from one of my own songs and then just like do weird shit to it, like stretching, and I'll just find the most. I said earlier that I uninstalled everything I don't use, but I still try and find like the most obscure, weird free VST on like a blog, and then just like try and make stuff that people can't tell how I've made it, which is I fail at doing that because most people can just make a gun or make a fucking growl or whatever. But yeah, I don't really stick to any specific synth or anything. I'm a big fan of Massive because that's what I learned to sound design on.
Me too.
So I didn't actually get Serum until 2021.
I got Serum. I think I did the pay to own it, and then I don't even use it really.
Yeah.
But it does sound good.
I think it's really good for like convenient stuff. Like everything's in a really easy spot, and it's really like the LFOs and envelopes or whatever are really easy to use. So it's good for quick, convenient things you want to make. But for me, getting like the sounds I make, it just comes from like not thinking, producing without thinking. It's pretty much my whole method.
Yeah. So just to stick on origin stuff, because I just like to cover this. Like, who are some artists that you're listening to at the time while you're learning? And also, I kind of want to get to the point where you start, playing shows and
So when I started, I didn't actually discover like heavy dubstep until like 2014 or 15.
And you said you were listening to metal also?
Yeah, I grew up, before I listened to anything electronic, all I listened to was like, I don't know, the typical like Metallica and shit. And then I got into like hardcore and metalcore and shit. But when I first started producing, all I listened to was like brostep, which again, that's another hated term, but that's just what I know it as from people calling it that. Like Barely Alive, all the old like Firepower stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Skrill. Is Firepower, whose label is that?
That was Datsic's label. Who we don't talk about.
Yeah, we cannot mention now. Yeah. There's a few of those guys.
Yeah. And then in 2014 or 15, I found a clip on SoundCloud that like one of my producer friends at the time, who's now a rapper, but he showed me this clip because he was like, this is like the heaviest thing I've ever heard. He sent me it, and it was Dalla and Blitz Oculus, and it's still not out. It was just a clip on SoundCloud. And so Dalla, he's now Vexiu. He's like one of my best friends. And I when I found that clip, I messaged him on SoundCloud. He had like 300 followers or something. I must have had like 50 on SoundCloud because I wasn't putting music out. I messaged him and I was like, hey man, your music's sick. We should Skype.
Yeah, dude. Skype. Hell yeah. That's what I started doing the podcast on. I'd Skype people.
Yeah, before Discord.
Yeah.
And I got his Skype, and we're both the same age. So we were both like 14. And we started Skyping like every day after school. He's from the UK as well. So we'd both get home from school at the same time. And then he, like within about 2 months, he came to my house and stayed with me for a week. And he just like showed me how to make heavy shit. And like put me on to like all these artists that I didn't know about. Because it was like, think about how underground it is now. Back then, it was like no one knew it. Like it was like the biggest fucking Tearout artist back then had probably like 1,000 followers. Like, so he put me on, and I owe so much to him because like he's 10 steps ahead of everyone all the time in terms of like production, including me. So every time I like go on a call with him, I'm like, what are you working on? And he just shows me shit. And I'm like, how the fuck did you think of that? I hope he is the next person to like blow up because he deserves it. But yeah, 2014, discovered heavy stuff, dropped everything, stopped making the bro steppy melodic stuff I was making, and just started breaking all the rules and making horrible shit. But
all that time up until then, you were learning like the basics, song structure, shit like that. I
think I always had a pretty good idea of like just music theory and shit because I've played guitar since I was like 6. So I always, and I learned a lot of songs on guitar, so I always had like kind of just ingrained in my head song structure and melodies and shit.
Well, you started so young, 6, like that's so young.
Yeah, well,
is your family musical?
Yeah, well, kind of. My granddad was like a drummer in like I don't actually know what his band was called anymore. I've forgotten, but they were like pretty big apparently.
It's like the Beatles. You're like, I don't know.
Yeah. So like he was a musician. My dad's always been like, he's always learning a new instrument, or he's always been into playing guitar and bass and everything. So I guess kind of musical, but other than that, not really. But I've completely forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, when I started playing guitar when I was 6, and that came from someone came into school and like stood in front of the whole school and played guitar, and I was like, oh, that's sick. And then that was kind of my first like real interest in life, was just like music.
How do you start getting into like, you know, playing shows? Because now, you know, are you on a tour in the US right now?
I fucked up. I should have just called it a tour, because I'm playing a show like every weekend for the next like 3 months. But they were all coming in like one at a time. So it was like, do we make it a tour? Do we make it a tour? Nah. And
we're just in the US. We're doing it.
Now I've started this run of shows. I have one every weekend. I'm like, I need to just make a tour poster, because it's like, it will probably sell better that way. But yeah, I didn't play a show till I was 17. And that purely came about from just putting clips, like not even releasing music, just putting clips on SoundCloud, which is pretty crazy, because that probably couldn't happen now because of how saturated it is. But back then, yeah, you could kind of make a name for yourself just from like SoundCloud culture. So I was doing that, and then Co-Pandorum, Sven, he was like, we're doing this, so his label's Crow's Nest, which was like still is like a kind of heavy dubstep label, or Deathstep.
Deathstep.
They're still going. So he was putting on a like Crow's Nest show, and he was like, yeah, you should come play. So I did, and I played for like 30 minutes and played the worst set of my life, because I'd never played on CDJs before. I think I played an entire song with like the Bit Crusher effect on.
Oh my god! And you didn't know?
And I didn't notice, yeah, because I was like just freaking out, because I'd never played in front of a crowd before.
So everything was extra crunchy.
Yeah, everything was just like. But that was my first show, and then nothing else happened until a year later, and I got put on another Crow's Nest show with my good friend Aimless, and we played back to back, and that was sick. I mean, we were both playing like old music that we'd both consider terrible now, but it was still like a core memory for me, because it was in Amsterdam. I just turned 18. I got drunk. And yeah, that was a wild show.
That's so sick. I'm like jealous, and I mean, I guess you could say this, like in the US we have a bunch of states, all the states are different, blah blah blah, but like in Europe it's like, oh, I'm in Amsterdam, and that's like very much its own culture, and it's great. And I feel a little jealous that it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to get to a completely different place.
I think I feel very grateful that, well, I do and I don't, with the whole visa thing. Because obviously, like anyone from Europe to play in America, you have to get a visa, and that is like a massive pain in the ass. Like it took me 2 years, and it cost me like 10 grand in total. So it's like a massive hurdle for anyone in Europe. But at the same time, I'm really grateful, because I built up kind of a reputation just out of Europe without playing the whole game in America of opening shows and being a local. That like step ladder you have to, that I see a lot of people on.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because is it like that in Europe, that you still play local and then try to like? What's
crazy about Europe is like you'll get. I'm kind of a weird one, because I didn't get booked until because I was so young, I couldn't get booked for shows.
Because clubs, like it was like 18.
At the time, they wouldn't let you in.
Drinking age is 18.
Yeah.
Most places.
So I was 17 when I played my first show, but they just didn't. I went in the back with the artist, and they just didn't tell anyone I was 17. So my first show, I wasn't big at all. I must have had like 0 monthly listeners on Spotify, because I had nothing out, and like 2K on SoundCloud or something. But that was enough for me to get a closing set, not an opening set. And closing sets in Europe are crazy. Like if you get booked for a closing set in Europe, you're good. I don't know. It's random. It's really random in America. Closing sets might be crazy depending who it's booked.
Yeah. No, it's either the person that it's kind of not that big on the lineup, or it's like that's the shit.
I think in Europe they just like the culture just like parties till 7 a.m.
It's just a later, an earlier culture.
In Europe, it's pretty common that like shows will start at like 11 p.m. and go until like 6 in the morning. So if you play a closing set, people will stay because then there'll be an after party at like 7 in the morning.
That will start at 7.
Yeah, it's crazy. I played in Paris last year, and there was like I played at like 2 a.m. It was main support for Bagclat, and then after the show, there was an after party that went on till like 12 p.m. midday the next day, and people like almost everyone from the show stayed and then went to that, and I was like, Europe's crazy. The only downside with Europe is the just lack of shows because it's not as big. But yeah, I skipped the whole opening slot thing. I don't think I've ever opened a show. Other than when I was on tour with Kai Wachi. And that was like maybe 4 shows out of the 26 we did, I was opening.
Oh, wow. That's a long run.
Yeah, the other 22 shows there would be like 3 locals before me. So yeah, I've been really lucky in that sense, and I feel very grateful that I did kind of work my way out of Europe rather than play the game of I'll come play this local show.
Yeah. I want to talk about Kai, but I also want to kind of go back to the whole visa thing. I saw you made a post about like I finally got my visa, like flex, like hell yeah, let's go. I guess like what is this is gonna sound so boring, but like what is the process? Because I know that there's differences between, if you want to go to Europe and play shows, it seems a lot easier for Americans to do. Whereas the other way around, it's a little bit more difficult.
I think it's just American government, I guess.
It's just the American government.
I mean, America's
we'll just put it there, yeah.
It's massive, and it's like one of the most popular places in the world. So,
and it's probably a big money-making opportunity. So for you, it's like, all right, I got to get that visa, so then I can like $10,000 to get the visa will pay itself back.
So if the actual visa itself didn't cost $10,000, it was like $6,000 or something. Like the actual visa application, and you have to pay more if you want to get your application looked at quicker. And I had to do that because I had the tour with Kai, which was in March, and we applied in like November. So if you don't pay for the fast track, whatever, it takes like 6 months. If you pay for it's called expedite. If you pay for that, you get it in like 2 weeks. You get an answer in 2 weeks. The whole process is basically you've got to prove to the US government that you're going to make money and that you're not, I don't know, a fucking gang member or something. The questionnaire I had to fill out when we were doing the application was hilarious.
Really?
Like there were some questions I probably can't even say on the podcast because it's like
confidential.
Obscene. No, not confidential. It's just like obscene shit. Like they'd be like, "Are you a murderer?"
Really?
Like, yes or no? Are you a murderer? Like tick the box.
Like whether or not you've murdered, but
it would be really
record.
But it would be like really specific. It'd be like, are you going to employ child soldiers? Like
what?
Like really specific stuff. One of them I'm pretty sure was like, are you an alien or something like that? Like
an illegal alien?
Like there was like 50 questions that are like just like crazy.
What?
And I really wanted to just tick like,
dude,
yes to all of the. One of the options was like yes to all of the above.
Yeah. You're just like, no.
Yeah.
But like, wow, I really want that document now. Like if we had that to just go through, it would be so funny.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you have to like deal with that because that seems. I guess they're just. Who would admit that I'm gonna employ child soldiers?
Yeah,
I'm like, what?
It's hilarious.
Also, what? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, then they pretty much just like once you've submitted your application, they pretty much just like stalk you, pull up all your socials, all your streams, and everything on Spotify. They basically do a massive background check on you.
Like this guy's got some good music.
They decide. Well, they don't care about if your music's good or not. They just care about if you're going to make them money.
Yeah.
And then they just basically decide whether they want to let you go and work.
Hmm.
See, like an actual like work visa for America, if you're just going to go and work a normal job, that's not that hard to get. But it's for a musician or like an independent musician, you have to get an O1 visa, which is like one of the hardest ones to get. But whenever I fly to America and I go through customs or whatever, they're like, "Oh, you've got an O1 visa."
Oh.
They're like, they're pretty hard to get, and I'm like, "Yep."
Yeah.
Like,
Well, because okay, when I think about that, it makes sense because you could be like, yeah, I'm a musician and I'm just like gigging, but then it's like, are you? You know what I mean? I guess that's the thought.
yeah, I guess it's also like when you're completely independent, it's like, are you actually going to make money?
Mm-hmm.
So, because they want to tax it, I guess. I don't know whether it's that or they're just like the legalities behind it. But
I've heard it's also really strict that like they don't fuck around with like if you get in trouble, it's like you're like
oh yeah,
banned.
So whenever I'm here, I'm always freaking out because like if someone's like driving me from a hotel to the venue or whatever, I'm worried they're gonna like speed or something, and then we'll get pulled over and the police might just be in a bad mood and like arrest me for no reason, and then I'll get my visa removed.
Oh my god, because it's like a mark against you.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you have any. Like, if anything comes up while you're here, you can just lose your visa. Or when I'm at home, like if I get done for, I don't know, speeding or something. Not just speeding, but like, you know, if you like do over 100 and you like get caught. If like, something
if you're swimming.
Yeah.
You know what swimming is? Where they're like on the highway, like going like 100 and just flying through traffic.
Yeah, if I did that, that'd be visa gone. Like if I don't know, one of my biggest fears, which is really irrational, is like, say I'm at the airport and someone, I don't know, plants drugs or something in my bag.
Yeah.
That's like one of my biggest fears at the moment. One of my crazy irrational fears.
No, I get it. I went to Mexico and I had a buddy that was like, dude, I don't think I'd go to Mexico because like, what if someone planted drugs on you and then you were just stuck there? I was like, dude, that could probably happen anywhere, but like, I get what you're saying. It is scary.
Yeah, but
I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think anyone's targeting you.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
The visa situation is a pain.
Yeah. So are you gonna be here for that 3 months ish and then go back, and is that the plan? Or are you just gonna try to keep booking shows?
So, I've been here since not last week, the week before. I did Kansas City, then I did Chicago on Friday or Saturday. And then I've got Vegas on this Saturday. And then I fly home because it's my birthday. And then I'm home for like 2 weeks, and then I've got like another load of shows. I try and fly home in between, which is way more expensive and exhausting because of the long flight. But I prefer being at home in between than staying at someone's house. Even if it's someone I know really well, it's just like a lot less exhausting being at home than being somewhere that isn't your home.
You don't get to do it exactly what you want and have like
can't walk around naked.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I mean, you could.
Yeah,
it might be like, why is he naked?
Yeah. It's also because I live with my girlfriend and like live 20 minutes from my family, so like I don't want to just like not. Like they're a massive part of my life. I don't want to be away from them for most of the year, you know?
Yeah. Well, speaking of like, you know, going back and forth, you know, like how is the music received here versus there?
It's very different. This is one thing that's super confusing. So in Europe, I don't know if they're just a bit more tapped. They're like, you could play like Katy Perry like in the middle of a dubstep set, and they'd probably mosh to it. In America, it's like a lot more, I guess because it's a lot more commercial here, like it's a bigger genre here. They're expecting like the headbanger, excision-y stuff, or just rhythm, like straight rhythm sets. Yeah, rail riding. So if I play like my stuff is a lot more, I make Tearout. So
we're gonna keep going back to this. Yeah.
So that's like not as popular. So unless I'm playing a headline show, it's always a gamble whether I'm going to have a good crowd or not. So, for example, the other day I played with Subphiltronic, and he's obviously like OG pioneer of rhythm, one of them. And yeah, it was like a very divided crowd. There was like everyone at the rail was there to see me, I guess, and they were going crazy. But then there was like a lot of like very unimpressed people at the back of the room, just like glaring,
listening. Yeah.
And that's where I just take the piss out of the crowd when that happens. I'm like, I think I was on the mic saying like, "I'm sorry I ruined your rhythm party." Like, so yeah, it's weird. Like in America, there's a big, it's a lot more commercial, whereas in Europe, you could kind of play whatever. You could rock up and play like rhythm, drum and bass, house, the heaviest dubstep ever, and they'll probably go crazy to all of it.
Is there a difference in like the drug culture? And like, I'm not trying to be like promoting drugs or whatever, but it's just like, is that it?
No, I'd say that's pretty similar in Europe.
It's pretty similar.
Pretty much the same at any show. Anywhere.
When you were talking about the rave that went till like 12 p.m. the day, I was like, how do you do that without stimulants? Like,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's the same here though. I'm like from experience.
Yeah. No. It's definitely a thing. I feel like people shy away from talking about it, but I'm always just like, that's a thing. Like, let's just be accurate about
it's definitely a thing. Like, I've never done drugs in my life. I've drank and I've like, I accidentally took drugs once. We won't talk about that.
You got dosed or something?
Oh, I took the wrong bottle of water, basically.
No.
And like I've smoked every now and then, like very rarely, but yeah, it's I think like everywhere, every show I've ever played, there's been a lot of people on drugs.
Yeah, especially in that green room. It's like,
oh yeah,
there's some of that going on. Anyway, I'm not trying to expose people.
We could go down a rabbit hole.
Dude, rock stars have been doing drugs forever, dude. Like, too real. So, all right. So there's some differences. I guess let's go back to the Kai Wachi thing. Just because he is a big artist, and just like, how did that come to be and how did that go?
Kai I've known Kai technically since like but somewhere between 2017 and 2019. He just followed me on SoundCloud and started like liking my songs, but I didn't ever like speak to him. And then in 2020, like over 2020 lockdown is when I actually started like trying with music. Like I didn't care before that. I was just doing it I thought it was funny. And then I think this is when I started like actually posting on Instagram and stuff. And he followed me on there and I followed him, and he'd like reply to my story or something, or like either I replied to his story or he replied to my story, and we got chatting that way. And then I remember the moment I was like walking my dog one day, and I just messaged him because I hadn't replied to his message, and I just said like, "Oh, we should make a song. It'd be funny." Like not expecting like one, for it to happen, two, for it to ever release. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm down." And he picked a song of mine that was unreleased, and he was like, "Yeah, just send me this, like the stems to it." And I did. Nothing happened for 2 years, and then like last year he just goes, "Yeah, I finished the song. It's coming out in like a month." So we had a release collab last year, and then when I was doing the whole visa thing in November, he messages me out the blue and he goes, "Who's your manager? Do you have a visa?" I'm like, this person, and no, but I'm trying. And he's like, "Can we like get you a visa? Can I like just pay for it?" And I'm like, "I don't think you can do that." And he just starts asking me these questions, and then he goes, "Right, I might be able to get you on a bus tour." And I'm like, "Wow, really?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then a month later, we actually get the offer, and it's like this crazy bus tour. It was mental. It was like my US debut was literally like bucket list venues. Like we did Mission Ballroom, we did LA Palladium, we did DC Echo Stage, we did shitloads. And
damn,
yeah, it purely came out of just like friendship, really.
That's sick.
Ever since then, we're kind of like each other's therapist. Like we'll just like vent to each other whenever we're like overthinking music stuff.
That's nice to have someone. So wait, you're on a bus.
Yeah.
Are all the artists on a bus?
It was me, Kai Wachi, and Prosecute. Prosecute was like direct support. I was under Prosecute. And him, those two, and Kai's entire team, we were all on a bus, yeah.
So you're just going to different city, like
it was crazy.
Popping out, getting some food, whatever. You're just like fucking around on tour on the bus.
I mean, I toured with my band before, my old band, but we were like in a van. Sleeping on van seats or in like on someone's floor.
What's that bus sleeping situation like? Is it good sleep?
They're like the bunks are like coffins.
Yeah,
because
you're like
wedged on a bus. Yeah,
yeah.
There were multiple times where I'd wake up in the middle of the night and just like headbutt the ceiling because it would be right there and I'd forget. Or like we'd drive overnight after each show, so you'd be sleeping in a moving bus, which was pretty crazy. Like when you're not used to it. But I actually slept pretty good because
you're a good sleeper.
No, I'm a terrible sleeper, but I was just exhausted.
Oh,
because like we're doing a show like 5 days a week.
And I will say this, and this is something I want to get to. The energy that you bring from the footage that I've seen, I've never seen you live, is a lot of energy.
Yeah, I mean, like I came from being in a hardcore band, so I can't just like I try and bring the same energy I would when I was in my band when I'm playing sets. But yeah, after that I'll just like be dead. So that would knock me out. The worst part was the days off. Then I would struggle to sleep. Because I also got used to the bus moving while I was sleeping, which was kind of like
cradling you to sleep,
like rocking me to sleep. But yeah, that tour was crazy. I'd wake up in a new place every day. It was mad.
And people are excited to see the show. There's people waiting in line or some shit. Like it's, yeah.
It was. I owe a lot to Kai.
That's so dope. So speaking of the energy, like, does the shirt always come off? Like,
that was
how many times does the shirt come off?
So that was like after lockdown. Obviously, I hadn't played a show after lockdown since 2019, and before lockdown, I didn't even like care about music or playing shows or anything. I just did it like I was working normal jobs and just doing it as like a hobby. And then after lockdown had ended, I kind of built a name for myself, and I was like, okay, I'm actually gonna like try and do this full time. And I actually managed to pretty quick, just from like doing lessons and stuff. I managed to quit my job pretty quick, and I played my first show back, and it was in Ministry of Sound in London, which is like a icon.
That's iconic. Yeah.
And I was in the loft, and it was so hot in there and so packed. It was like that you could not fit any more people in that room. And I had all my friends with me, like in the booth with me, and it was just so hot and ram-packed that I just got shirtless, like in the first song. And after that, I then played another show at Ministry of Sound like a couple months later, and it was the same situation, just really hot and like packed. So I did it again, and then it just became a thing. Like people just started expecting it. Like, just take.
When's the shirt? Do people bring like totems? It's like, take the shirt off.
Someone bought like 10 t-shirts that they made themselves, and they're all just like a picture of me shirtless, and it just says like tops off or something, or like Nimda's a prick or something on it. And they were just like giving these shirts out to people in the audience. So yeah, it just became a thing online, like because of those 2 or 3 shows. People were like, how like Nimda after one song, and it would be like someone shirtless. And so now I just don't even bother. Like I just come out without a shirt.
Well, I mean, like, it's not like you're a good looking guy. You got a good physique, and also it gets hot, and it's like you're fucking moving around a lot. It makes total sense.
Yeah,
like
it's honestly it is a blessing because I get boiling on stage, and I'm like, I can't imagine doing this with a shirt on now. But,
yeah, do you got to get one of those like things where it's like holes, like where it's like kind of a shirt, but it breathes,
like net t-shirts, whatever.
Yeah, like it's like what you'd wear. I don't know if they had this in the UK, but like it's like a penny that you put on to like identify that you're on the other team type of deal.
Right, yeah,
you need one of those.
Yeah,
it might look kind of weird though. You got to get a chain or something, like swag it out.
But yeah, what was I gonna say? Yeah, I can't imagine playing with a shirt on now because I get so fucking sweaty even without one.
Do you get hot? Like, okay, so like for example, might not be interesting to people. I'm kind of like a hot sleeper. Like,
Yeah.
I like to be in a really cold room.
Yeah, me too.
All that shit. Like, do you get hot?
Yeah,
You just
very
get hot.
easily.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just prone to any temperature. Like I get really cold really easily, or really really warm. Really
Dude, I'm the same way actually.
yeah,
I feel like I don't really have that much insulation. So if it's hot, I'm hot. If it's cold, I'm getting cold.
So after I played Forbidden Kingdom like 2 months ago, that was the hottest weather I've ever endured in my life, because I'm from the UK where the hottest it gets is like, I don't know what it would be in Fahrenheit, but like 30 degrees Celsius.
Yep.
Not that hot. Like you could go out in jeans and a t-shirt and you wouldn't get too hot. But that was like, I don't actually know what this is in Celsius, but it was like 110 or something.
Damn.
In
That's
Florida.
insane.
105.
Oh, and it's also humid as fuck.
Yeah, it's like the air you're breathing doesn't feel like
It's like
real air.
wet. It's like- You're like drinking water,
So-
breathing.
Yeah, horrible. I did the main stage, and it was I played at like 3 p.m. So like the hottest part of the day or something. And I literally got off stage and went to the artist area and just threw up
Because it was
like,
you were
heat
overheated.
exhaustion.
Yeah. Just
And
chug water. Like
it was in a like the main stage was in like a tent as well. So-
oh, dude, the tents get hot as fuck.
I was like, is that a good idea? Because they put up like a tent to give people shade so they weren't like dying of sunstroke or whatever.
Yeah, but then it like
But then it just got hotter.
I don't know what's better.
Especially because the stage was high up, like near the top of the tent. All the heat was rising up there.
I think it's better, to be honest, because the sun in Florida, depending on the UV, it's fucking hot. Yeah.
But yeah, that was crazy.
What's like your favorite move on stage? Like I see a lot of arms wide, like fucking doing this. Do you have any other like moves that you like to do, or like you talked about the crowd crouching down? Do you have anything else like that you do?
I don't really put that much thought into it. I have like planned moments, obviously like the getting everyone to crouch thing, but I like going right up to the rail and just like yelling in people's faces about the mic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really have anything like that. I just kind of
You ever split the
there's a moment.
fucking death wall, or what's it called?
There's a moment for that as well. I made like a long kind of eerie ambience that goes on for like 2 minutes where I can just tell everyone to
Split the
yeah,
bit,
yeah,
like shit like
all
that.
that shit.
Does anyone ever get like actually badly hurt and you see it happen and you're just like, oh shit?
I've never seen it happen, but I've got quite a track record for injuries.
Yourself?
No, not
Or-
me. Like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
proud. Like
Yeah.
in Europe, I've kind of forgotten them all because there's been so many. But I have plenty of like almost every show I play, I get a story tag, and there's like, I broke my nose, I've split my eyebrow, I've chipped my tooth. In Philadelphia, someone broke their knee, like
Damn.
proper broke their knee, and had to get like carried out.
So you like saw them maybe like
No, I didn't. I found out after.
mm.
And there was like a GoFundMe and everything because he needed surgery on it, and he
Dang.
felt really bad. But
Dude, the thing about the pits, I fucked up my foot bad in a
Yeah.
pit. Like I landed on my foot wrong, and this was at Rage Against the Machine, and like
yeah.
I'm not like a big dude, so like when you get in a pit and there's like actual big dudes,
You
it's
get
like
knocked
you're
flying.
you're fucked. Yeah.
yeah,
So I don't do that anymore. Let's
Yeah.
just say.
but the guy in Philadelphia, I'm really sorry, I've forgotten your name. I only remember usernames. If you ever want to come to a show, I will list you. Thank you for breaking your knee to my set.
Hell yeah.
At AFK, the police got called during my set.
Really? What?
That's probably the most extreme incident I've had. The police got called during my set because someone cracked their head open
Mm.
and would carried on going. So they
What?
they-
They said fuck it.
hit heads with another person,
Yeah.
cracked their head open, were bleeding from the head. I think the other person was also bleeding from the head.
Like
Like blood was like pouring down their face.
Jesus.
And they just carried on dancing and going like crazy. So I don't know who called the police. I guess security or something who were at the event.
Like, we don't want to touch this guy. It's a
People-
biohazard.
There's people fucking in the like crowd just covered in blood. So I look to my right while I'm playing and there's just like a police car and there's like police going into the crowd to like stop people from moshing.
And they didn't stop the show.
They didn't stop the show. They had the police in the crowd trying to calm everyone down, but it didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you want to really calm people down, you stop the music.
Yeah.
But have you ever been stopped?
Have I ever been stopped? No, I haven't.
Nice. Knock on wood.
I don't think I have. No, not like I remember.
Yeah. Nice, dude. Well, I mean, damn, you've played a lot of like really cool shows, like big ass crowds.
Yeah, I've had a very lucky run.
Yeah.
I like to.
Lucky, but also obviously you put in the work. Like I saw that you played Rampage, right?
Yeah, that was my third time.
This was very recently, right?
This was 2 weeks ago. That was the craziest set of my entire life.
Really?
This one 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that was by far the maddest crowd I've ever played to.
Were they just like ready to rage?
Well, because last year I wasn't supposed to play. I was just there on guest list, like attending the whole festival. And then Midnight Tyrannosaurus, his flight got cancelled and he was headlining. So I have a collab with Midnight T that's released. So they just went, right, easy, Nimda does it. And my booking agent who books for Rampage just goes, right. He calls me like 12 hours before the set. And he goes, right, you're playing tonight.
He didn't ask you.
No, he was like, you have to play. And luckily I had my USBs because I just got back from Australia where I played there. And I had the exact set ready. He was like, right, you're playing. There's no questions asked. You're playing. And I was like, okay, cool.
Did you ask him like, hey, how much is it going to be? You were just like, fuck it, let's go.
I thought he meant like play a small stage at like 4 p.m. And I'm like, okay, cool. When and when? He's like, 11 p.m. the Storm stage, which is like the second biggest stage.
And prime slot. Like,
yeah,
right. Yeah.
Craziest slot. And I'm like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, wow. And then I kind of just like sat in silence for like a couple hours.
Like just mentally.
I was like, wow, how is this happening? Because before that show, I'd never played like to a room bigger than like 500 people. So that was crazy. And also like when I played, I had no idea what like the deal was with like production and stuff. I had no idea. And second song in, fucking pyro, CO2.
Yeah.
And I thought something had blown up because I didn't know it was going to happen. Like this massive like burst of fire just comes out and I'm like, oh no, something's gone wrong. But
I blew up the stage.
Yeah, it was mental. So I guess after that set, so many people saw that set because they were all like near enough the tent was like just full. Like most of the festival was in that tent. The other half the festival was in that tent. Half the festival was in the other big tent. So everyone saw that, and then when I got booked this year, I guess everyone who was at that set was like, "We got to see that again." So, yeah, it was crazy. And this time, I guess they knew what to expect, and I knew, like, I had preparation, so I put a lot of like work into actually making the set work rather than just playing a set that I'd done in Australia.
Yeah. Do you ever get nervous?
I get nervous when I haven't played a show in like 3 weeks or above that. I don't really get nervous when I'm like playing it. When I'm playing a show like every weekend, I don't get nervous because I'm like, oh, it's just another show.
You know,
like,
yeah.
I know what's going to happen.
Used to it.
I know my USBs work.
Yeah, that's big.
And I know that I can just go up to the person who's playing before me after my set, after they've played, and be like, are the CDJs working all right? And they'll be like, yeah. I know nothing's going to go wrong. When I haven't played for a while, I'm like, what if I forget like how to play?
Yeah, how to transition. Or
what if I've done something weird to my USB in that time? Like,
it doesn't. Yeah, or it's like it's the song skipping or something. Like,
I get nervous when I'm playing a show and I know that it's a very mixed lineup. I get nervous that the crowd is just gonna like really hate me, which has never happened, luckily. Other than like I've played and sometimes like on the Kai tour, there were a couple shows where I played and like they were just there to see Kai. Like I guess it was one of the smaller shows where everyone there in that state, didn't really know anyone other than the big dubstep names, so that they were there to see Kai. So they were there kind of just like taking it in while I was playing, rather than like going mental because they knew what to expect. I think it just comes down to like if they know what to expect or not. But yeah, that's the only reason I really get nervous.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like you're kind of a black sheep in that sense, that the genre you choose, it's very polarizing. People either love it and go, fuck yeah, this is what I wanted, or they're like, this is too much.
Yeah, I mean, I've always just loved like the most extreme possible end of a genre.
Do you feel that way about other things in your life? Like, do you feel extreme sports?
Yeah, I'm very all or nothing. Like, if I do something, I want to like do it to extreme levels. If I want to do something but I don't want to do that, I just won't do it. Like, so pretty much all I do in my life is like go to the gym and make music.
Get that workout in. Yeah, I figured you probably go to the gym. It could be genetic too, but
it looks like it's genetics. I don't look special at all. I literally destroyed my body on tour
from jumping around and shit, and
just from eating nothing but fucking like Wingstop.
Oh yeah, dude. Well, tour life food, it's like you kind of get what you get.
Yeah, you have to just eat when you can.
Do you have this could be fun, any like regional food that was like clutch, like really just like you would go back there for the food? Or
Nashville hot chicken?
Nashville,
or everyone probably says this, but buffalo wings, like in Buffalo. We went to like a bar that did like, apparently it was like the spot. Yeah, that shit was crazy. Other than that, I can't really think of much. Like, I don't know what it is about America, but every sushi place I've been to here has been like insane compared to Europe.
Really?
Like, I have not been to a single bad sushi place in America.
Well, that's good.
I'm like a big sushi fan.
Yeah.
And yeah, like every single time I've been to one, I've been like, this is the best sushi I've ever had.
Have you ever been to Japan?
No, I want to.
You got to get there. Yeah. I've never been either, but like that would be crazy.
Yeah.
Do you like the sushi where it's like probably not authentic necessarily, but it's like lathered up with like all these good sauces and like crunchy and like...
That's probably why I like it in America, because they do like all this extreme shit.
Yeah,
it's like not even sushi anymore. It's just like a bit of rice with like whatever on it.
Do you like the States? Like, I feel like the States do shit to an extreme manner. Like, everything's like too big, or like, I don't know, you know?
I like the States, yeah. I haven't been anywhere in the States that I dislike other than Ohio.
Really?
And like, this is
no shade against Ohio. Let's go.
Nothing against anyone who's from Ohio. This is just like my only experience of being in Ohio was we played 3 shows there, and every time I left the bus or the venue, I got almost robbed. And it was like everywhere I looked, it was just like abandoned buildings.
Damn.
And like, it was like a ghost town. It was like there was no one there. It was weird.
Except for sketchy.
Yes, like
sketchers,
like crackheads, basically.
Yeah. I've never actually been to Ohio, so I have nothing to say about that.
Isn't that where Lost Lands is?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Someone fact check that.
I think Jamie pulled that up.
Yeah.
I think it's in Ohio.
I think you could be right. Have you played Lost Lands?
No.
Okay.
I don't quote me on this, but I believe they tried to book me before I had my visa. But
gotcha.
Not this year.
So I saw, and this is something that I see with people that, you know, come to the States but live in, you know, Europe or the UK. Like, you have multiple agents for different areas, right? Or it's like
in Europe,
or like you have like do you have a manager and an agent, and like it's like there's different people that book for like the States versus Europe.
Yeah, so I have I have an agent for Europe and an agent for America. And a manager, and that's pretty much my whole team. But,
and like, how helpful is the team?
Very.
Like that, yeah. Because like flights and all that shit. I feel like if I was doing this,
I wouldn't be able to do any of this on my own. Like. On the show side of things, like my my manager basically like books all my flights for me, which is
and you're like, he's just like, show up at this time.
He's like, he just emails me the flight, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then all I have to do is check my email, and all right, that's when my flight is. And he, you know, he has a lot of contacts with like, just like PR people and stuff for like promoting releases and stuff. My agents, they're a godsend. Like if it wasn't for my Europe agent, I wouldn't have played Rampage. Because like he works with Rampage and in America, my agent's also a godsend. Like at the moment, it's pretty crazy. Like he'll message like almost every day, like, here's another offer. Do you want to do it or not? So yeah, they're great. I think they're great, but also I didn't need them until like last year.
Yeah, like if you got them too early, it would be like
there's no point getting a manager or an agent until the demand is there, because you don't want to be that artist that is playing every show because their agent is putting you on it. You want to be like booked and you want to have a demand. This is what because I teach like music production for a living as well as playing shows, and a lot of the people I teach are like local DJs in America, and they're like, how do I like get to playing bigger shows? I'm like, I actually genuinely tell them like, stop playing like every local show. I'm like, you want to like build a demand from your music, not from like, you're not gonna build a demand very quickly just from like playing local shows, because no one, like, I hate to say this, but I feel like this is a brutal truth that no one fucking accepts, and everyone tells the opposite. No one remembers like the local opener. Like a lot of the time they don't, because either they're not there or they're like getting a drink while you're playing, and the music, like the volume is ducked by like 20 dB. So like not that many people are gonna
that opener volume. Yeah,
I mean, it's worth doing every now and then, because you do get the odd like person who does remember it, but you'll probably benefit way more from not doing that and just like making the best music you can and releasing more, and you know, trying to get on decent labels.
Yeah, that's, and like attacking the internet.
Yeah, because if there's a demand on, you know, almost everyone who goes to shows, they find out about those shows from the internet. So if you've got a demand, like if you've got a big demand on your social media, you're gonna do a lot better when you do start playing shows.
Yeah, that stays there.
And that's kind of the blessing I had with like having to make a name for myself in Europe, where there's barely any shows. Like I had to build a demand from purely just putting music out.
Yeah, I heard this thing. Do you know Suicide Boys?
Yeah, I love those.
They did an interview and they were like talking about how they were not, or like, I think someone gave them advice. They're like, dude, everyone in your city already knows you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to attack the internet.
Yeah.
And
that's another thing. Yeah. Like playing the local shows all the time. Like, how many local shows are there? Like, even
if there are a lot, it's like, I feel like you could get almost pigeonholed into, yeah, this is the guy that just plays the local shows.
Yeah. So what I mean is like, how many locals are there?
Oh yeah,
that's what I meant
to
say. Yeah. Like, there's only so many people in that state.
Yeah, for sure. Even if you're in a big city,
yeah,
too. Like in Chicago, there's definitely some people that are the locals, and you know, I'm not saying that they can't get out of it. It's just that, yeah, you kind of got to find like a different way to get out of it. I don't know. Yeah. Well, I guess, you know, I did want to talk about the teaching a little bit and the lessons. How do you format that? Like, when did you get into that? And like, if someone wants to take a lesson from you, how do they get a hold of you?
So, the long story is that I used to be an online personal trainer over lockdown
for working out,
for like training. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And that was my job for a bit. And then I was like, you know what? I fucking hate this. I hate telling people what to do when they don't want to do it.
They don't, especially if you're not there to like kind of give them that push.
So I'd basically make like a spreadsheet for them where all their training, like their training plan would be on there, and they'd also input like the food they were eating and their body weight,
which is huge. Yeah.
And then I'd have not a call, but like they'd send me a video every week, just kind of telling me how their week's been, how their training's been, everything. And I was like, this is fucking boring. But what if I did this in music instead of training? So I basically kind of took what I like the format from that. So I do mentoring, which is where someone has a monthly lesson with me that's 90 minutes long. And then every day they can send me stuff for feedback and message me every day. So they've basically got my personal contact details and they get priority of who I respond to because my phone gets blown up on everything else. So yeah, I basically just every month they get on a call and I'm like, what do you want to learn? And they give me a big list of things and we go through it all. And then the next month, repeat. They have a load of other stuff they want to learn.
Is it rewarding? What's like the most common thing that people are asking? Is it like sound design?
It's like completely random. There's no like common thing really. A lot of sometimes people would just like, they'll come to me and they'll be like, how did you make this specific sound? And I'll show them. And sometimes they'll be like, how do I get better at this entire category? And I'm like, I'll give them a bunch of stuff to do. Yeah, it's completely random. It is really rewarding when someone who's been with you for like a couple months, they send you a song they've made and it's like way better than 6 months ago. Like I've got one client who I've had for like 3 years and it's like crazy how different his stuff sounds now.
Really? Is it predominantly in the same genre as yourself?
Yeah, I get like a lot of rhythm people as well. And like even though I don't make that genre, there's still a lot of stuff that's transferable to that. Because at the end of the day, it's just like you're making dubstep.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that are similar. There's a lot of crossover.
Yeah, it's crazy when you get a client who like when they come to you, they're like completely new, and then within like a couple months, they sound like a completely different producer.
They like send you a track, and you're like, "Yo, what the fuck? This is sick."
Yeah.
Do you ever play any of your?
I played an edit of one of my client's songs once, but I mean, my sets are like almost 100% original, so I rarely play anyone's music out other than like really close friends, unreleased stuff. But I once played a client song out.
And what did you tell them? You're like,
yeah, they like freaked out.
They're like, sick.
Which was like really wholesome.
That's cool.
But
so I'm actually curious too about like how you got into, training like your body, obviously. Cause like, there's such a thing that like, if you're a producer, you're like sitting at your desk, not really thinking about that shit. Like,
yeah. Well, I was a fat kid and woke up one day, decided I fucking hate being fat. When I was like 15, and I just started like obsessing over the gym. Loki had like an eating disorder. I was just like,
to get skinny.
Yeah, I must change. And then I realized that that's also not healthy. And then basically years of trying and failing different stuff. And then now I'm really grateful that happened because, dude, if I didn't have the gym that I was going to like regularly, I would literally lose my mind because I could sit at home and produce for like 12 hours.
Well, and when you go to the gym, just like, I used to work out a lot when I was younger. Now I'm like fucking skinny and I'm getting back into working out because like I realize I need to. And the thing that I always forget about is just the way that it makes you feel.
Yeah.
After you've done it. Like I get this feeling where I just don't care in a good way.
You get
where
I just clear-headed.
Yeah, I just feel calm.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I think whenever I can't go to the gym is when I struggle a lot mentally, especially when like all you do is sit indoors and produce. Like I have no reason to leave the house other than to like go and buy food.
Yeah.
Or go to the gym.
What do you predominantly train? Is it like pretty I mean, I know this isn't like the podcast for fucking working out, but like I'm just curious because there's so many different schools of thought. You could be like a kettlebell guy. You could be like I only use like dumbbells, barbells, like shit like that. I'm a TRX body weight guy. Like, I
do everything. I do like, I do an upper lower split. So like one day I'll train upper body. The other day I'll train lower body.
Do you get cardio in there?
No, because, I play a show almost every weekend.
Yeah, so you're fucking jumping around, dude.
And, like the amount of traveling, like
Yeah.
and I don't mean flying, I mean like walking, like
Right.
between places and then playing a set.
Like festival ground walking.
Yeah, and
shit
like just
that.
even when you play a show and even going to a show and not playing, like you're on your feet all
Yeah,
day.
dance,
Like,
moving.
I don't think like my health's pretty good. I don't need cardio. I used to, but now I I'd rather like use that time to do something else.
When you're on the road, is it harder
Yeah,
to work out?
because you have to find a gym.
Do you still get it in?
Yeah, I mean, it depends where I'm at. Like last week, I was staying with a good friend, and he goes to the gym, so he'd drive to the gym every day, and I'd just go with him.
Perfect. Yeah.
So that was good. This week, I've been once. I went yesterday. It's also a time thing because, like, what a lot of people don't realize till they do it is like when you're traveling and you're in places you're not familiar with, it's like everything that you have to do that you would usually do at home becomes like twice as hard. Like doing lessons and stuff for me is like twice as hard. One, because of the time difference.
You gotta
Finding a
time
quiet
difference.
place to do it.
You gotta have good Wi-Fi.
It's like everything just becomes a fucking mission. So a 1 hour task becomes like a 3 hour task.
And
So-
it's probably like mentally draining to think, okay,
yeah.
how am I gonna prepare myself?
Yeah, that's the most exhausting part.
So you still do how many lessons do you do a week generally?
I used to be a psycho, and I used to do like almost one every day. So I used to have like 30 to 40 clients,
Damn.
and I'd do like
That's dope though.
either one every day, sometimes twice a day for the month, or I'll like jam like 4 or 5 a day for like a couple of days a month, and it would be like savage. I don't know how I did it. I could not do that now, but I guess I have more responsibilities now. I didn't back then. I used to just like live with my parents and have nothing to do other than producing that. But nowadays I have 10 clients. I try and cap it off at 12 because like I just can't do any more than that with like traveling and stuff.
And like be good
Yeah,
at
so,
doing it.
yeah. So I do about 10 lessons, 12 lessons a month. I have a long waiting list of people who hit me up who want to do it, which is really good because when someone leaves, I can just get someone on the waiting list.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's clutch. Because I know a lot of people that have been, producing for 10 plus years and they're like, oh, I want to start doing lessons. But yeah, I guess I'm curious how you kind of got the ball rolling on that because there are a lot of people out there that do lessons. And
Yeah.
is it just hitting people up on socials like, yo, I'm doing lessons, hit me up?
I think part of my method is like reverse psychology. Because
Yeah.
like I've only advertised lessons like maybe 4 times in the entire time. I've been doing it since 2021. Like when I first started doing it, I made a post being like, if you want me to teach you everything, message me. And I got about 20 people.
So
And
that's like good. You're good.
And I took them all on.
Yeah. Wow.
And then after that, I have a website just for like as artists do for like merch, releases, everything. There's a tab on my website that just says like mentoring / lessons.
Mhm.
And I put the link to that page on my website in the description of every song on like my SoundCloud. And it's at the
That's smart.
very bottom of my link tree. So I think my opinion is like if you're advertising a service all the time when you're an artist, like people follow you for your music.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
If you're advertising like your lessons all the time, it's gonna like just kill your audience. So I'd never really advertise it. So yeah, I just get like all my clients come from people who have just stumbled across that link. And
Well, it makes sense too. You listen to a song and then you're like, yo, I want to figure out how you do that. So
yeah, it's also like if you go into the description to like find the link to buy the song, you see that link as well.
yeah.
So yeah, it's
That
really
makes
useful.
sense. Talking about Tearout and just like heavy dubstep, do you find that people that make that kind of genre generally stick to a certain like type of demeanor / what's the word, like how they act? Like, are they chill guys or are they normally like pretty fucking like intense guys? Is there some that are different than others? Because it feels like the music lends itself to the extreme nature that we were talking about before.
I think it's honestly the same in every genre. Like, there's just the really nice guys who are just like so easy to be around and talk to, and then there's the people who like take themselves way too seriously. Who either think they have to be their brand at all times, or they think that they're like just this like god that everyone loves.
Yeah.
Like, they either have a massive ego or they think that their brand is like their personality. But I've been a big part of two music communities, like the metal scene and this scene, and it's exactly the same in both of them. I think it's the same in like every genre. It doesn't really matter. I mean, some of the heaviest like producers I know are like the most hilarious. Like, they don't give a shit. They just don't take themselves seriously at all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you know D-Lion. He's like a good friend of mine. He's just like literally like regular bloke who just goes to the pub every day and then comes home and just makes like the most obscene shit you've ever heard. Like, without trying. He doesn't care.
I feel like there is kind of just a fuck it, I don't care attitude that lends itself to making that kind of music. Because if you are too serious about it, it might be like...
That's genuinely like my whole method these days is like produce without thinking. Because if you're thinking about it, you're trying to do one thing too much, you're just going to limit yourself to all the like happy mistakes you're going to make. Because a lot of like pretty much all my biggest songs happen by accident. Like, I wasn't even trying to make a song when I made those songs.
And then people are just like, this is the shit, this is the one.
Well, it's like I'll start a project not even trying. I'll just be like bored producing, like not even trying to make a song, and then I'll save it because I just save everything, and I'll come back to it next day and be like, actually, this could like be a song. Yeah, it's odd, but it really you figure out who's a prick and who isn't at shows in green rooms. That's when you figure out who's a prick,
or who's got like a weird quirk or something, or like Yeah. Okay, I didn't know if there was like a stereotype or like a certain temperament.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of, temperament. Okay. Rhythm guys, 140 guys, deep dubstep guys. When you meet some of these guys, you know, backstage, whatever, is there ever like, you know, like, oh, we don't fuck with what you do? Or like, oh, it doesn't matter at all, we're just all here. Like, I'm sure you get a bunch of different personalities, obviously, but in general, the sentiment, is it like, is everyone okay with each other, or is it kind of like a little bit competitive?
This is a big subject. So it's weird. Like, I've been to, I've gone and played shows where like a lot of the lineup is like rhythm people. And dude, it is crazy how like school playground
Flicky,
it can get in the rhythm scene. Like, if you're not part of their group, they will not talk to you. Like, some people in the rhythm community are like that. It's not, I'm not just being like biased here, but it's not like that in like heavy dubstep, really, because it's like we're already such a like niche smaller genre, so everyone kind of knows each other. But this is what I've noticed, everyone in like heavy dubstep, well, more often likes rhythm, whereas not everyone in rhythm likes the heavy stuff.
Like, so it doesn't go back and forth.
Yeah, so it's a weird one. Like, I've been in green rooms of shows I've played, and everyone in there is a rhythm producer, and they literally like one of them has talked to me, and like I've like gone up to one of them and said hi, and they've like said hi and then just like walked off, not talked to me for the rest of the show.
Dude, black sheep vibes, like I was saying. I don't know.
It's weird, man.
It's weird.
Like, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that, like, I'm not shitting on rhythm. Like, there's a lot of people in that scene who are like, Mad Dubs is like my best friend. Like, we went to school together. Well, we didn't know each other in school, but we're from the same town. We've like been very close friends for a long time now. And he's not like that at all. Like, there's a lot of people in that scene who are still like, who just fuck with everyone.
Yeah.
I like to call them grown-ups.
I'm mature.
Schoolboys. But what blows my mind is like in rhythm, it's way more saturated than the stuff I make, and I feel like it's a lot harder to stand out in rhythm because it's a lot more not samey, but a lot of people try and go for the same sound.
Saturated
So like
type of deal.
Like realistically, when's the last time someone blew up in rhythm other than like all the masked producers that happened recently?
Like you mean like they're literally wearing a mask?
Like,
or
like
not
the,
like ghost
people,
producers.
No, the people who like wear masks on stage and that.
Yeah.
Like they're the only people I can think of that like exploded as artists in rhythm in the last like couple of years. Like before that, everyone else who's big in rhythm right now, like they kind of came up gradually. So it's must be a way harder genre to kind of break through with. So I guess that's probably one thing that contributes to why everyone's so like hierarchy competitive.
Yeah, because it's like there's only so many slots.
Yeah, and it's like it feels like there's not enough room at the top for everyone.
Yeah,
I guess in that scene.
That makes sense. Where the mentality is almost like, famine mentality versus like an abundance mentality.
Yeah, it's weird.
But obviously, not to throw shades on and paint with broad strokes. Like there's cool people and there's not cool people, and that's just life, and that's how it is in every industry.
It is. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to see, because obviously you've experienced a lot of it, and maybe people that listen to this who are new to making these genres and haven't experienced that, they're like, I'm kind of curious what it's like. So yeah. Word, man. Well, I guess what we can do is kind of wrap this up. I end with a throwback question. I asked you what your first concert was, but what was like the game changer concert that you went to that you were like, damn, this is like, I gotta change what I'm doing. Like this opened my eyes to new possibilities. It doesn't have to be in the genre either. It could be like that Bon Jovi concert you were talking about or something.
One of them that really like made me fall in love with like just trying to make a crowd go mental was I went to this hardcore show, and I mean like in the metal scene, not like hardcore techno. I'd probably get slated for saying that hardcore is in the metal scene. It comes from punk, but I went to one in Manchester in the UK, and it was like sold out, and a band called Desolated were playing, and literally like I think someone got like thrown out the door of the venue. Like people were just beating the shit out of each other. It was great, and I was like I'm like making music can make an entire room of people do this. Like I was like, that's mental. And that's kind of I went into hardcore bands through that, and like I've been in like 4 bands.
So this was early.
Well, this was like 2017, 2018.
Okay.
And then when I started kind of playing shows in dubstep, I was like, I've got to like get as close to that as possible. I don't expect people with dubstep shows to start fighting and shit, but
well,
like,
what is it about the punk element that makes people like, is it just like the fucking thrashing, the energy on stage?
I think that whole scene is just about shows in that scene are just a safe place where you can just there's kind of no rules. Like as long as you're not like a bad person, you can kind of like go and let out whatever emotion you have.
Yeah.
By like swinging at people. And they just accept it there. They're like,
yeah, it's like one of the only
that's what you go to those shows. You
can like get into a fight and it's like kind of okay.
Basically organized violence.
Yeah.
But
and also you can, if you don't want to partake in that, you can kind of stand back or I mean, unless the entire place is crazy, like going wild.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's definitely a big part of like why I still play shows. I'm like I said, I'm not expecting people to start like fighting in dubstep shows, but like just trying to make it a thing where everyone goes to the heavy dubstep sets and like just goes as hard as possible.
To
It's
release.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about, or I didn't even ask, like, do you still play in bands? Is that something you even have time for?
Yeah.
Or are interested in doing?
So the biggest band I was in was called Pint Glass, and that's a band I started with my best friend Ben, who's in another band called Bound in Fear. I had to stop. Doing Pint Glass because I like we were getting like tour offers, and I couldn't do them because I had Nimda, because it would like clash with Nimda shows, and I was the vocalist with my friend Ben. We were both on vocals, so you couldn't really do it with one vocalist. It like wasn't the same. So I left Pint Glass, and they're still going, and now I've got like just kind of a band with Ben where I'm on guitar, but we're trying to just make it like insanely hyped on the internet to the point where like we only have to play like one show a year whenever I'm free.
That's how like not exclusive, but just like how rare it is. There's like a rarity to it.
Yeah. But we haven't like properly launched that yet, but that's going to be exciting because we've got like a super group of members.
Do you feel like you get a different, I don't know, joy out of like, playing a guitar versus like producing or like singing or,
Yeah. It's very different, but the feeling is the same as like playing a set as a DJ for me, because I still, all the like crowd interaction is still there. So the feeling is still like very similar.
It's still performing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of why I've never like been someone who plays a set and doesn't go on the mic and stand still. Like I've always been very vocal. Like if I go and play a show and there's no mic, I will like make sure I will get a mic.
Really?
Yeah. I can't play a set without a mic. Like,
you need the mic.
Yeah. I've had it where the mic has like died on me and I've literally like almost stopped the set.
Like I gotta go get one real quick.
Because it's just like it feels weird without it. But yeah, I do miss playing in bands regularly, but I just wouldn't have time now.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. One thing we do is shout outs. Is there anyone that's been really like pivotal, or just someone you want to take the time to shout out? It could be your dog. It could, I don't know, like anything.
Shout out Vexiu. Shout out Stag. Shout out Joe B. Shout out Kai Wachi. Shout out Midnight Tea for putting me on. And shout out my girlfriend for putting up with my shit when I'm at home.
That's a good one.
Playing the same sound on repeat all day.
Dude, yeah. The producer girlfriend, like where they're like trying to get into it and then you push spacebar and stop the song and then they're like, okay.
Yeah.
My girlfriend, I don't produce as much these days because we do the podcast, but like, is she home? She's going to be home any second. Anyway, like when I produce music, I just feel bad.
Yeah.
It's not like listening to a song. It's like listening to 2 seconds of a song and then another 2 seconds.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah. I put her through a lot of headaches.
Yeah. Where can people find you on social media?
I am pretty sure I'm just Nimda_UK on everything.
Word, man. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming through.
No, I appreciate you having me on. This has been sick.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, we appreciate you. And we'll catch you next time.